Hidden deep in the Nevada desert lies one of the most secretive and heavily guarded military installations in the world, Area 51. Officially denied for decades, its very existence fueled wild speculation and paranoia. What began as a covert testing ground for experimental aircrafts has since evolved into the epicenter of UFO folklore, alien cover-ups, and government conspiracy theories. From supposed extraterrestrial crashes to leaked footage and whistleblower testimony, the mysteries surrounding Area 51 have only grown louder with time. In this episode of Seeking Answers, we delve into the classified origins, the shadowy stories, and the truth behind one of the most enigmatic places on Earth. The facility was founded in April of 1955, ideally for its remote location. Speaking on the facility, Lockheed engineer Kelly Johnson stated, quote, "We flew over it and within 30 seconds you knew that was the place. It was right by a dry lake. Man alive, we looked at that lake and we all looked at each other. It was a perfect natural landing field, as smooth as a billiard table, without anything being done to it." End quote. The facility's name, invoked in countless UFO documentaries, phantom sightings, and conspiracy theories, remains officially unexplained. While many believe it's an Atomic Energy Commission grid designation, Area 51 doesn't appear on any AEC maps, and actually borders Area 15, leading some to speculate that the number was accidentally misnamed. The CIA, however, refers to the site by two practical names: Groom Lake after the adjacent Salt Flat, and Homey Airport. The name Area 51 itself first surfaced in a once classified CIA document during the Vietnam War era. Over time, nicknames like Dreamland and Paradise Ranch have also been used, the latter born from Kelly Johnson's 1955 charm offensive to entice personnel to this remote location. For decades, there was no announcement, confirmation, or even acknowledgement of this facility's existence. It was merely fenced off with several warning signs for trespassers to keep out. It's protected by guards in white pickup trucks and camouflage apparel, warning trespassers of deadly force being used if they attempt to gain access. No civilian flights are allowed and face disciplinary action. The facility contains buried sensors, armed guards, and deadly force warning signs that signal the high-stakes secrecy still surrounding the base today. Trespassing, even unintentional, risks swift and lethal consequences. But it wasn't until 1988 when Area 51 was first publicly referred to by this name, and its connection to extraterrestrials began to captivate the world. On October the 14th, a TV broadcast called UFO Cover-Up Live was aired, alleging that the facility was used for the storage, examination, and reverse engineering of a crashed alien spacecraft, including supposedly the material found at the site of the previously documented Roswell incident. They believed that this facility was for the study and manufacture of alien technology years ahead of our own. This was only further escalated in 1989 when an unidentified man calling himself Dennis was interviewed and claimed to have worked in Area 51 Sector 4, which was allegedly located underground inside Papoose Range near the lake.
Well, there's several, actually 9 flying saucers, flying discs, that are out there of extraterrestrial origin.
He claimed that he was contracted to work with an alien spacecraft that the government had in their possession. His story is that he helped reverse engineer one of 9 flying saucers which were extraterrestrial. He went on to say that one of them was built out of a metallic substance similar in appearance and touch to liquid titanium. It was in November that same year when Dennis appeared in another interview, but this time he revealed his face and identity to be Bob Lazar. However, Lazar's claims were very quickly called into question due to his own inconsistent stories. He attended Pierce Junior College in Los Angeles, but by 1986 he was a self-employed film processor and soon filed for bankruptcy. He claimed to have earned a master's degree in physics from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and in electronics from the California Institute of Technology, which is also known as Caltech, but neither university had any records of him ever doing so. Scientists Stanton D. Friedman and Donald R. Prothero denied his claims entirely, claiming that nobody with his high school performance record would have been accepted at either college. In reality, he graduated from high school late at the bottom of his class, and the only science course he ever took was chemistry. Lazar was also initially unable to name any of his lecturers or fellow students. Eventually, he picked out William Duxler as his Caltech professor, but in actuality, Duxler had previously taught at Pierce but never at Caltech. Friedman dismissed his claims, saying, quote, "Quite obviously, if one can go to MIT, one doesn't go to Pierce. Lazar was at Pierce at the very same time he was supposedly at MIT more than 2,500 miles away." End quote. He also claimed to have been a physicist and to have worked during his tenure at the Los Alamos Meson Physics Facility, which was originally confirmed by local journalist Terry England, who had interviewed the man about jet-powered cars back in 1982. However, years later, England admitted that he simply took Lazar's claims at face value and didn't actually fact-check his credentials as a physicist. It turned out that he was simply a technician for a contractor firm and hadn't worked as either a physicist or for the lab directly, who had no records of him at all. He also claimed that he worked there through the contractor EG&G and that his direct employer was the United States Navy. However, EG&G had no records of him either, nor did the Nellis Air Force Base that he claimed to work at, or even the United States Air Force, though he claimed that the government had erased all of his records due to him speaking out about his experience at Area 51. He claimed that the vehicle they studied at the facility was fueled by a chemical element with atomic number 115, which wasn't even artificially created yet and wouldn't be until 2003, named moscovium, all of which was proven to have been extremely radioactive and would decay in just a few hundred milliseconds. He also claimed to have seen a real alien inside one of the rooms within Area 51, but once attempting to take a closer look, he was pushed away by the staff. But considering Lazar has never provided any evidence of his claims, most have completely discarded them as entirely implausible. What is known, however, is that he owns and operates United Nuclear Scientific Equipment and Supplies, a company selling various materials and chemicals. Over the years, Lazar gained notoriety for his stories as an avid conspiracy theorist. In 1990, he was arrested for aiding and abetting a prostitution ring, though his charges were later reduced to felony pandering, to which he pleaded guilty. He was faced with 150 hours of community service, was forced to stay away from brothels, and had to undergo psychotherapy. It continued in 2006 when he and his wife Joy White were both charged with violating the Federal Hazardous Substances Act for shipping restricted chemicals across state lines after the offices of United Nuclear were raided. They were fined $7,500 for violating a law prohibiting the sale of chemicals and components used to make illegal fireworks, but it wouldn't stop there. In 2017, Lazar's workplace was raided by the FBI and police during a murder investigation, though he was never listed as a suspect. This was all to determine if United Nuclear had sold thallium, which was used in rat poison and banned decades earlier, to a murder suspect in Michigan, but the results remain unclear. Lazar, however, claimed that he took some of element 115 with him from when he worked there at the time, and that the FBI were trying to get it back. Regardless, the name Bob Lazar made most ufologists roll their eyes, and very few of his claims were ever taken seriously. In 1994, 5 unnamed civilian contractors and the widows of other late contractors Walter Kazia and Robert Frost sued the Air Force and United States Environmental Protection Agency, claiming to have been present when large quantities of unknown chemicals were burned in open pits and trenches at Area 51. An investigation turned up high levels of dioxin, dibenzofuran, and trichloroethylene in their body fat. They claimed to have sustained skin, liver, and respiratory injuries, and that this exposure caused the death of Kazia and Frost. They demanded compensation, claiming that the Air Force illegally handled toxic materials and that the EPA failed in their duty to enforce the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act, which includes the handling of dangerous materials. They also requested details on the chemicals to help them seek proper treatment. Initially, the government refused and claimed that this information was classified. However, they did later post it on the Air Force website, but it was soon removed again. In 1997, the stories only continued when a new documentary entitled Dreamland was released, featuring an interview with a 71-year-old mechanical engineer who claimed to have worked at Area 51 back in the 1950s. His story is that he worked on a flying disc simulator, which was based on a disc that had originated from a crashed extraterrestrial craft, and that they were using it to test pilots, even claiming to have worked with a telepathically translating extraterrestrial named J-Rod. Amazingly, Area 51 was never officially acknowledged by the military or the government until 1998, 43 years after it began operating. The US Air Force finally decided to acknowledge its existence, but the full history of the facility still wasn't revealed until June the 25th, 2013 by the CIA, who finally revealed the full picture. Area 51 was founded to develop a Lockheed reconnaissance aircraft known as U-2. They were unable to conduct flight test and pilot training programs at Edwards Air Force Base, so this remote location was far more ideal, even more so with the lake bed and mountain ranges preventing visitors from trespassing. The point of the U-2 was to fly higher than any previous aircraft, flying at altitudes of over 60,000 feet, double that of regular military jets and triple civilian aircrafts, in order to spy on the Soviet Union. These missions not only revolutionized Cold War reconnaissance, but also triggered public UFO hysteria. It was around this time of the test flights when the UFO sightings began to plague the area. The U-2 had silver wings which reflected in the sun during sunset, which is when the majority of the sightings took place. The shape was also wide and had a disc-like fuselage, and its titanium body moved as fast as a bullet, so it would have reflected in the sun and resembled a UFO. Over the years, the government decided to not address or acknowledge the extraterrestrial allegations as it helped to conceal their actual agenda. However, this didn't deter further stories from circulating. In 2004, Dan Crane, under the pseudonym Dan Burish, claimed to have worked on cloning alien viruses at Area 51 alongside J-Rod, but most have discarded this story as well. On January the 28th, 2019, an unidentified man drove through a security checkpoint near Mercury, Nevada in an attempt to enter the base. He was chased for 8 miles by the security before he eventually exited his vehicle holding a cylindrical object. Sadly, he was shot dead by security officers and deputies after refusing to stop his advances. That same year, the base became a social media phenomenon. A joke Facebook invitation to storm Area 51 attracted 2 million responses, though only around 3,000 showed up to laugh, dance, and camp, leading to 7 arrests. The event once again drew global eyes to the hidden installation. Air Force spokeswoman Laura McAndrew stated, quote, "The government would discourage anyone from trying to come into the area where we train American armed forces," end quote. For decades, Area 51 has stood as a monument to secrecy. Its gates locked behind barbed wire, its skies patrolled, its purpose hidden in shadows. While some see a military testing site, others see the epicenter of government deception and extraterrestrial cover-ups. From Cold War spy planes to alien autopsies and UFO sightings, the legend of Area 51 has blurred the lines between fact and fantasy. What remains undeniable is this: the truth about what really happens in the Nevada desert continues to evade us. Until official statements are made, all we can do is ask the questions and continue seeking answers.